Divorced mother discovers one inheritance next day. Lawyer reveals incredible hidden estate. Sarah Matthews was deep in the trenches of her chaotic kitchen. The scent of burnt toast mingling with the noise of her two young kids bickering over toys. As a divorced mother living in the quiet lanes of her small Midwestern town, every day felt like a relentless battle. She'd just lost her job at the local school, which rattled her already fragile world. Bills piled up like an insurmountable fortress, and the suffocating weight of financial strain felt like a noose around her neck. Just then, she stumbled upon an old envelope hidden away in a dusty drawer, an envelope that held a mere one inheritance from her estranged father. A bitter chuckle escaped her lips. $1? After years of silence, this was all he had left for her. Yet, life seldom left Sarah with room for laughter. The next day there was a knock at the door. An unfamiliar man in a crisp suit introduced himself as a lawyer. With a voice steady but heavy with news, he revealed that her father had left behind a sprawling estate, just outside of town, a hidden trove of memories and family secrets waiting to be unraveled. The ground beneath Sarah's feet shifted. The murmurs of her neighbors rippled through her mind. What would they say? The gossip spread like wildfire, igniting old flames of judgment and resentment. Here she was, a struggling single mother, suddenly tied to a man who had walked away from her life, a man who might be offered her more than just $1. As the whispers turned into pointed stares and hushed conversations, doubts clawed at her insides. Did she deserve any of this? The prospect of wealth sat heavy on her conscience. Luxury seemed like a distant dream, a haunting reminder of choices she'd never made, while necessity clung to her like a shadow. The community she thought would rally around her now watched with narrowed eyes, unsure whether to pity or envy her newfound luck. Feelings of inadequacy bubbled to the surface like a boiling pot, flowing over in waves of resentment towards a father who had brought her nothing but pain. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Navigating through the murky waters of judgment, Sarah felt her resolve hardening. Old friends turned into enemies overnight, and family she once thought of as her own distanced themselves, rife with whispers that echoed discontent. This was her chance, but at what cost? The estate held answers, but it also loomed large with questions about forgiveness and identity. Each moment weighed heavily, pushing her closer to a reckoning with her past. Could she take the leap? And amidst the complexities of family, healing, and betrayal, Sarah found herself caught on the precipice of her choice. Closing her eyes, she wondered if embracing this inheritance could lead her toward redemption or further entrap her in the chaos she desperately sought to escape. As she opened her eyes to the uncertainty ahead, one undeniable truth emerged. Confronting her father and what he left behind might just be the key to uncovering who she truly was beneath the weight of her inheritance. The drive to the estate was surreal. The road wound through a thick canopy of trees that seemed to stretch infinitely. Each curve in the road felt like a metaphor for her life, twisting, turning, and ultimately leading to an uncertain destination. Sarah clutched the steering wheel, heart racing as doubt and excitement mixed in her chest. Was she really doing this? Did she really want to step into the life of a man who had abandoned her? As she pulled into the long gravel driveway, a magnificent old house came into view. It was larger than she had imagined, with ivy creeping up its stone walls, painting a picture of elegance mixed with decay. Despite the years of neglect, there was a haunting beauty to it. The estate felt alive, whispering secrets that only she could uncover. But the closer she got, the more anxiety settled like a stone in her stomach. What waited for her beyond those worn doors? Every step felt heavier, pulling her back to memories she had buried long ago. The lawyer had told her to keep an open mind, but how could she when she felt so lost in her own life? Inside, the air was thick with dust and the scent of aged wood. It had the sort of charm that could only come from a home steeped in history. A grand staircase spiraled upward, and paintings of stern-looking ancestors lined the walls, their gazes following her with an unsettling intensity. She forced herself to smile at them, as if reassuring both them and herself that she belonged here somehow. As she wandered through the rooms, memories crashed over her like waves. The laughter of family gatherings, the warmth of togetherness felt like an echo from a life she had never known. There were hints of happiness lingering in the corners, buried beneath years of abandonment. Then she stumbled into a study. The room felt intimate and familiar, with a worn leather chair and shelves overflowing with books. A flicker of curiosity ignited within her a realization that this space might hold answers. Was it too forward to search through her father's things? Was she crossing a line she couldn't come back from? But the need to know outweighed her hesitation. She ran her fingers across the spines of books, her breath hitching when she discovered a framed photograph tucked between two volumes. In it stood her father, much younger, smiling at a picnic. Beside him was a woman with kind eyes, her arm draped over the shoulders of a little girl. The girl looked just like Sarah had at that age. A long-buried yearning surged within her. What had she missed? A family, love, memories that could have been hers if only things had turned out differently. Her heart raced. Would confronting the past heal her wounds, or would it drag her deeper into despair? Lost in thought, she barely heard the shuffle of footsteps approaching from behind. Whirling around, she faced the lawyer from earlier. His expression was cautious but encouraging as he nodded towards the photograph. "You've uncovered some lost pieces of your history," he said softly. "There's so much more to discover here. Are you ready for that journey?" Was she ready? Could she walk this path, knowing how fragile it felt? The weight of her inheritance wasn't just about wealth. It was about understanding herself and her family's story. As uncertainty filled the air, Sarah's resolve began to form. It was time to uncover not just her father's secrets but her own. What awaited her was beyond mere bricks and mortar. It was a journey into her past, a quest for acceptance, healing, and perhaps even forgiveness. And as she took a deep breath, she realized the real question loomed larger than ever. What truths would she unearth, and would they set her free or bind her in chains? The lawyer's presence felt both anchoring and unsettling. Sarah stood clutching the photograph, the edges stiff and aged. As if it held more than just an image, it carried weighty fragments of her family's history. Every moment hung in the air, vibrating with an energy that demanded to be acknowledged. "More to discover?" she echoed, her voice trembling slightly. The prospect both thrilled and terrified her. What else could lie beyond the ordinary? Had her father mapped out a life of complexities that she'd never imagined? "Absolutely," he replied, his eyes brightening with the slightest hint of excitement. "You've just scratched the surface. There are letters, journals, records. So much that paints a fuller picture of who he was." The idea of navigating through her father's words, a man she barely knew, sent shivers down her spine. Would they be loving, regretful, or a tangled mix of guilt and love? She was desperate to know, yet part of her feared what she would find. What if he hadn't thought of her at all? "Sarah," the lawyer continued gently, "this estate is more than just a place. It holds memories, stories, a lineage that belongs to you now." His encouragement ignited a fire within her. Every breath felt like it drew in courage. "What do I need to do?" "Let us start with the study. You can begin with those journals I mentioned and sift through what's there. Take your time. This is your journey now." As he stepped aside and let her pass, she hesitated at the threshold. The room felt like a portal to another time. Memories swirled around her like the dust motes caught in the sunbeams streaming through the window. Taking a deep breath, she moved toward the desk, a sturdy oak piece rich with history. A mahogany box rested prominently atop it. It wasn't locked, but it felt heavy with secrets. Could it hold more photographs? Keys to doors she'd yet to open? Gathering her resolve, Sarah lifted the lid. Inside, she found notebooks filled with her father's handwriting. Pages weathered and yellowed, each one teeming with unvoiced thoughts. The first few lines spoke of loneliness and dreams, a longing for connection that resonated deeply within her own soul. He had missed so much. She couldn't help but wonder if he had thought of her, if she had ever crossed his mind during moments of solitude. Tears pricked at her eyes as she pressed her fingertips to the ink, feeling strangely linked to this man through words penned in quiet despair. As the hours slipped away, Sarah found herself lost in the narratives. Tales of heartache, love, and moving away to find himself. It was as though he'd been writing a letter to her all along. Then one entry caught her attention, brief yet poignant. "I hope one day she'll forgive me." The words shattered something inside her. Tears spilled down her cheeks, a mix of sorrow for not knowing him and anger for the abandonment. And there it was, the painful truth that she'd always felt. Maybe he hadn't just left. Maybe he had been running from himself, his mistakes, and now running straight into her heart. Moments stretched as she wrestled with these new revelations. Could she truly forgive him? Was forgiveness even what she wanted? Pushing the notebook away, Sarah wiped her tears, determination washing over her. She would reclaim her family's narrative. This estate held power to rebuild her understanding of who she was and where she came from. But just as she stood to gather herself, a sudden loud creak echoed from the hallway. Heart racing, she turned toward the door. Footsteps approached, heavier this time. Who else was here? Murmurs of uncertainty grazed her mind. The journey had already begun, yet an unexpected visitor might just change everything. What awaited her on the other side of that door? The door swung open slowly. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Standing there was a woman, tall and imposing, with an air of authority that sent a shiver down her spine. The stranger's dark coat was unbuttoned, revealing a simple white blouse tucked into tailored trousers. Her sharp features softened slightly when her eyes landed on Sarah, but the surprise quickly morphed into something else. Curiosity, perhaps? Or was it judgment? "Who are you?" Sarah managed to ask, her voice barely above a whisper. The weight of the moment pressed down on her. This was a neighbor, or maybe someone who knew her father. The lawyer hadn't mentioned anyone else being involved. "I'm Anna," the woman replied, taking a tentative step inside, her gaze sweeping across the cluttered study. "I lived next door for years. I didn't know your father well, but we shared a garden wall. I came by to pay my respects." Sarah nodded, her heart thumping. "Respect? You knew him?" A flicker of something crossed Anna's face. "Regret, maybe. He was a complicated man. I wish I'd reached out more." The sincerity in her voice tugged at something deep inside Sarah. "I just wanted to offer my help. I know this place can feel overwhelming." "Overwhelming doesn't quite cover it," Sarah replied, forcing a laugh that felt far too light for the heaviness of the moment. She motioned toward the mahogany box. "I'm just trying to piece together who he was. It's hard." The woman's expression softened further. "He had a big heart, even if he didn't show it well. You should know there are things in this house, memories that might surprise you. Some good, some not so much." "What do you mean?" Unease flowed through Sarah as she wondered what else lay buried here. Anna took a deep breath, eyeing the open notebook strewn across the desk. "Your father had secrets like we all do. But he also had dreams. He always spoke about wanting to leave something for you, but he struggled with other parts of himself." Sarah's stomach twisted. Would she hear more about his struggles, or perhaps a hint of love he'd buried? Is that why he left? Was he afraid? Sarah pressed, fear creeping into her voice. "We all fear, don't we?" Anna countered, standing a little taller. "What matters is how we choose to face it. Your father never truly ran away from you. He just didn't know how to stay." The thought clawed at Sarah's chest. She craved something solid to hold onto, a thread that linked her to the man she barely knew, but who had shaped her existence. "I want to understand what he went through." "I can help with that," Anna said softly. "If you're willing, I can share stories. Maybe together we can uncover more than just the past." As the proposition dangled in the air, Sarah hesitated. It felt like stepping onto a fragile bridge connecting her to a man she had longed to know, but whose choices had devastated her. "I'd like that," she finally said, her voice steadier now. "But I need to know, did he ever think about returning? Was I ever on his mind?" Anna's gaze deepened, as if reading the depths of Sarah's heart. "That's something we can find out together. There are leads, fragments of letters throughout the house that might hold his thoughts." Hope flickered like a candle in the dim room. But along with it came anxiety. What other truths would await her? As they prepared to sift through the remnants of her father's life, Sarah felt a growing sense of purpose. This journey was not just about reconciliation. It was about rediscovery, and perhaps even reclaiming pieces of herself. A creak from the hallway stirred them both. Yet again footsteps echoed, lighter this time, almost hesitant. What other secrets lay behind those walls? Was this journey about to take another unexpected turn? The footsteps grew louder, a hesitant shuffle that turned the air electric with anticipation. Sarah exchanged a glance with Anna, who stood poised near the door, her expression transforming from warm curiosity to a sharp alertness. "Who's there?" Anna called out, her voice steady, yet edged with a protective instinct. They both strained to hear a response, but there was only silence. The sound of her own heartbeat thundered in Sarah's ears. Just as she was about to step farther into the hallway, a young girl appeared. She was no older than 10, a small figure in a faded yellow dress that seemed to hang on her like a forgotten treasure. Her dark hair tumbled wildly around her face, framing wide, anxious eyes that darted between Sarah and Anna. "Are you okay?" the girl asked, her voice tinged with confusion. "Yes, we're just—" Sarah started, her heart twisting. "We were just talking about my father." The girl's expression changed slightly as understanding dawned. "Mr. Thompson? He used to play with me and my brother in the backyard," she said, a touch of grief in her voice. "I miss him." The words landed heavy, churning a mix of emotions inside Sarah. Her father's absence colored every thought and memory, but hearing it from a child's perspective stung in a new way. "You knew him?" Sarah pushed gently, hoping for a thread to pull her closer to the father she yearned to understand. "Not well," the girl replied, shuffling her feet nervously. "But he was nice. Kind of funny. He gave me candy sometimes. I thought he was just busy." "I'm so sorry," Anna interjected, stepping forward a little. "What's your name, sweetie?" "Lila," the girl whispered, her gaze flickering between the two women. I was just looking for my ball." It rolled under the gate. A sense of warmth enveloped Sarah at the girl's innocent mention of her father. "He sounds like he was a good man," Sarah said softly, each word layering her heart with a fragile connection to the memories of a man she barely knew. "He was," Lila affirmed with a tiny nod, her brow knitting together with resolve. "He helped us with our garden one time. We were planting flowers and he made jokes about the worms. He made me laugh." Sarah's heart softened. It was a glimpse, a flicker of what her father might have been like. "He sounds fun," she replied, trying to hold on to that image. "He was always busy though," Lila said, looking down. "I didn't understand why he didn't have time for us." Her voice trailed off, revealing a hint of disappointment. The air felt thick as Sarah processed Lila's words. The laughter, the kindness, all wrapped in a tangle of questions that were overwhelming. Even when he was busy, he cared. Sarah said more to herself than anyone else, feeling the truth echo inside her. "There are letters," Anna reminded quietly, bringing them back to the task at hand. "Maybe they can explain things." "Can I help?" Lila piped up, her eyes flickering with the eagerness of a child wanting to be part of something important, something big. "Of course you can." Sarah beamed. The offer was unexpected, but then again, this whole situation was nothing like she had predicted. As they turned back to the study, Sarah felt a swell of determination. Not only was this about grieving her father but about uncovering the patches of his life that still lingered here and stitching them together with what she had. And perhaps in the process, she could give Lila a piece of her father too. The three of them worked quietly, the room becoming a hive of activity, laughter, and sparked memories, fragile threads weaving between them. But just as they began to settle into this new rhythm, the unmistakable sound of paper rustling caught Sarah's attention. From the corner of the room, hidden beneath a stack of forgotten boxes, a small envelope peeked out, battered but undeniably special. Driven by instinct, Sarah reached out. What story might it hold? Was it a piece of her father's heart tucked away just for her to find? With her heart racing, she gradually pulled it free, the room quieting around her, every eye fixated on the tiny portal to the past. What secret lay sealed in that envelope? Sarah clutched the envelope tightly, a flurry of emotions rushing through her. It felt warm against her palm, as if it held the very essence of her father. Lila's eyes widened and even Anna leaned closer, their shared curiosity tinged with caution. The delicate seal was old, slightly frayed, giving it an air of mystique. "What is it?" Lila asked, her voice barely a whisper. I don't know yet," Sarah responded, careful not to break the fragile moment. Her fingers traced the edges of the envelope, the texture surprising her. It felt heavy, weighted with meaning. "Open it," Anna urged softly, her voice steady but filled with anticipation. Taking a deep breath, Sarah gently pried the envelope open. The paper inside, yellowed with age, smelled like a time long past, a scent stitched with memories that felt both foreign and familiar. Her heart raced as she unfolded it, the ink curving elegantly across the pages. Words danced before her eyes, filling in glimpses of her father's life she had long sought. Dear Sarah, it began, her name, written in her father's hand. If you are reading this, it means I have left this world. I wish I could tell you all the things I couldn't say, but time was never on my side. Lila leaned closer, her young face earnest as she tried to absorb the significance of the moment. He loved you, Anna whispered, her breath catching with immense tenderness. I can feel it. Sarah swallowed hard, a lump forming in her throat. The next line spoke of regrets, of missed moments, and purely, of love that transcended time. There were things I couldn't share, decisions I made that I hope you can forgive. Life pulled me in directions I didn't foresee, but my love for you was a constant in every turn. I always wanted to protect you. Tears welled in Sarah's eyes. The father she barely remembered was suddenly becoming a three-dimensional figure, full of flaws but also deeply human. The ache of his absence morphed into a comfort, a connection she had longed for. Lila, sensing the change in the air, whispered, "Is he proud of you?" It was an innocent question, yet it struck hard. Sarah glanced at Lila, then back down at the letter. The answer lingered unformed in the corners of her heart. "I think so," she finally replied, her voice thin yet determined. "At least I hope he would be." As she continued reading, the letter divulged secrets, stories she never knew, detailing an old family garden, his dreams for her without him by her side, moments layered in laughter and unspoken wisdom. "And there is a key," it concluded, "left in a drawer in my study. It will unlock not just a door, but a part of who I was. Seek it, Sarah. You may find more than you expect." The final syllables hung heavy in the air, the weight of possibility palpable. The teardrops fell freely now, mingling with the swelling hope. "A key?" Anna echoed, her excitement bubbling. What could it open? Sarah felt a flutter in her heart. A key. Maybe it's a way to understand him better, to find out where this all leads. "Can I come with you?" Lila asked, her eyes bright with eagerness. "I want to know more about Mr. Thompson too." "Of course," Sarah smiled, feeling the warmth of connection with this little girl grow even stronger. "We'll discover it together." As they gathered around the table, Sarah felt a sense of purpose. This was no longer just about her search. It was a bond, a curiosity rooted deep in shared love and memories. But just as they were about to leave the study, a loud crash echoed from the direction of the door, freezing them in place. What now lurked just beyond their newfound solace? Sarah felt every muscle tense, the realization dawning. The journey was just beginning, and the secrets of the house might not be finished revealing themselves. What lay ahead would require courage, and they were about to find out just how deep the rabbit hole would go. Frozen in the moment, Sarah's heart raced as she instinctively shielded Lila behind her. The echo of the crash reverberated in her ears, amplifying the tension in the already thick air. What was that? Anna's voice trembled, her wide eyes darting toward the door. I don't know, Sarah managed to say, her mind racing. She thought of the letter, of the key, and now this ominous sound that felt like a warning. Her instincts screamed at her to be careful. Maybe it was just the wind? Lila suggested, her voice shaking. But the fear in her eyes was unmistakable. No, Sarah said firmly, taking a step forward. It sounded like something fell or was pushed. She felt a strange mix of fear and a surge of determination. Whatever was out there wouldn't take this moment from her. Not now. Stay here, she urged Lila. I need to check it out. Are you serious? Anna shot back, her face pale. What if it's dangerous? But Sarah wasn't listening. The sound had sparked a sudden fire in her. She wanted answers, and nothing would hold her back. With each step toward the door, her heart thudded harder against her chest. The key in her pocket felt heavier, almost like a secret weapon against whatever lay ahead. She flung open the door, ready to face the unknown. The hallway lay dark and still, different than the comforting warmth of the study. Shadows clung to the corners and the air felt dense, as if it held its breath alongside her. "Hello?" she called out, her voice echoing back at her. No response. Panic fluttered in her stomach, but she pressed on, advancing cautiously into the adjoining room. The sound had come from here. A toppled chair laid on the floor, its legs splintered, and small shards of glass were scattered around. A shattered picture frame had evidently fallen from its perch. What happened? Anna whispered, slipping beside her. Sarah knelt to pick up the frame, her fingers brushing against the cracked surface. Inside was a faded picture of her father, laughing with her mother. A moment captured in time, now tainted with the uncertainty of the present. But then another thought struck her. This wasn't just a broken frame. It was a sign that whatever was hidden in this house was waiting for her to discover. We need to find that key, she murmured, igniting a fierce determination that posted itself on her heart. What does it unlock, though? Lila asked, her curiosity returning, inching closer to the scattered debris. I don't know yet, Sarah replied, glancing at the chaos around her. But I think it might have to do with all of this, with everything. Suddenly, a noise from behind her made her freeze. The faint creak of footsteps echoed on the old wooden floorboards. Did you hear that? Anna asked, her voice barely a whisper. Yes, Sarah breathed, refusing to look back, heart racing as fear gnawed at her thoughts. Every instinct told her to turn and run, but something deeper pressed her to stay. Before she could decide, a shadow shifted at the end of the hallway. Sarah squinted into the dimness, her heart thundering in her ears as she prepared for whatever or whoever was about to break the fragile peace they had found. Who was there? She called, steadier than she felt. The figure paused, then stepped into the light. It was a man familiar yet distant, his eyes locking onto hers, filled with an emotion that sent shivers down her spine. Sarah, he breathed, catching her completely off guard. What are you doing here? She shot back, her pulse quickening, but before he could answer, the tension in the air thickened with uncertainty and unspoken words. Where does this encounter lead? What truths would his presence unearth? The deeper she leaned into her father's world, the more dangerously close she came to her own. Sarah's breath hitched as she stared at the man who had stepped into the light. He looked older, the years etched into the lines of his face, but those eyes, those familiar, comforting eyes, made her heart ache. Dad? She whispered, the single word breaking from her lips like a fragile promise. It's me, he said softly, reaching out with an unsteady hand. The touch of his presence felt both grounding and bewildering. She had thought she would never see him again. What are you doing here? She asked again, desperation creeping into her voice. She had just begun to make sense of her father's absence, and now he was right here, standing in front of her as if no time had passed. I needed to find you, he stammered, glancing nervously between her and the room. There is so much I need to explain. Anna, sensing the tension, pulled Lila back a step, her eyes flicking between Sarah and this man who had been nothing more than a shadow in her memories. Dad, you left, Sarah said, the edge in her voice cutting through the air. You can't just come back and expect me to. I know. He interrupted, pain flickering across his face. But I made a mistake. I thought it was for the best, that leaving would protect you. But the truth, it's worse than I could have imagined. The weight of his words sank in. The fear she had felt before morphed into something sharper, more painful. This wasn't just about anger or hurt. It was about secrets, the kind she had spent years unlocking on her own. Secrets? She repeated, almost as if the word was a key itself. What do you mean? Not now, he pleaded, glancing over his shoulder down the dark hallway. We need to talk somewhere safe. The panic returned as she remembered the forgotten chaos around them, the broken frame, the shattered glass. Sarah looked back at Anna and Lila. She could see uncertainty flashing in their eyes. They were far too young for the weight this moment carried. Are you safe? She asked, her protective instincts drawing her closer to him. How do I know you're not here to hurt us? I swear I'd never hurt you, he replied, his voice breaking. I didn't come back for that. I came back because your mother needs us. The mention of her mother made everything inside her freeze. My mother? What do you mean? I can't explain it all now. He looked desperate, as if he were losing his grip on the very moment he had fought to reclaim. Just trust me, please. Trust? The word felt heavy on her chest, weighed down by years of unanswered questions and the shadow of betrayal. But there was something deeper lurking in his gaze, something that tugged at her heart. Okay, she said, edging toward him. But you have to promise me you'll tell me everything. No more secrets. He nodded, and she saw the ghosts of guilt hovering in his eyes. We need to leave now. As they turned to move through the house, an unexpected sound filled the air, a soft but unmistakable creaking sound echoed through the dark hallway. Sarah's heart raced. Did you hear that? Lila squeaked, grabbing Anna's hand tighter. Yeah, Sarah replied, her voice trembling. The shadows seemed to breathe around them, and it was clear they were not alone. Suddenly the atmosphere shifted. Shadows lengthened, swirling as if responding to their tension. Something was waiting, lurking just out of sight. What is it? Anna whispered, her eyes darting again to the depths of the hallway. I don't know, but I have a feeling. Sarah's voice trailed off as dread washed over her. Sarah, we should go, her father urged, panic creeping into his voice. But before they could fully comprehend the ominous presence closing in, a jarring crash resonated from the back of the house, the sound echoing through the corridors, growing louder. Run! Sarah shouted, instinctively grabbing Lila's hand as they darted toward the door. But as they fled the room, one truth resonated within her. Whatever secrets they were about to face would change everything. What awaited them in that darkness? Would unraveling those secrets unite them, or tear them apart forever? Sarah's pulse raced as they sprinted down the hallway, the sound of their footsteps echoing off the walls. Each beat of her heart seemed to synchronously resonate with the cacophony behind them, a roar of chaos that urged them to run faster. Where do we go? Anna panted, her eyes wide with fear. Out the back, Sarah replied, glancing over her shoulder at the shadows that flickered ominously. We just need to get out of the house. Her father took long strides beside her, his breath heavy. We have to get to the car. It's parked behind the garage. His focus was laser sharp, but Sarah couldn't ignore the nagging fear curling in her stomach. Could they really trust him? They burst into the kitchen, the fading light of the evening casting strange shapes against the walls. The door to the backyard was just ahead, a promise of safety. She barely registered the half-eaten dinner plates on the table, or the warm glow of the setting sun. Almost there, she urged, squeezing Lila's hand tighter. But just as they reached for the door handle, a cold wind swept through the room, leaving a chill in its wake. The air crackled, and a distinct voice reverberated from somewhere deep inside the house. Sarah, the voice was low and haunting, pulling at the threads of memory she buried deep within her. No, don't stop. Her father's voice cut through her panic, but the urge to look back was powerful. Sarah, don't run away from me, I'm still here, Dad. She shouted, desperation creeping back into her tone. Is that Mom? Don't listen. He barked, pulling her toward the door. With a heave they pushed through the back exit, tumbling into the cool night air. The sudden quiet enveloped them like a comforting blanket, momentarily shielding them from the terror they had just escaped. But it didn't last long. The eerie voice from the house quieted, but the weight of those words lingered, clawing at her thoughts. Get in the car. Her father called. They hustled toward the vehicle, Sarah cringing at the prospect of being trapped in an enclosed space with him. The tales her mother told of betrayal and heartbreak swirled in her mind. Would this chance meeting make her family whole, or shatter the fragile peace she had fought so hard to maintain? As they fumbled inside, Lila climbed into the back seat, eyes darting around nervously. What is happening, Sarah? I don't know, she breathed, turning to her father as he slammed the door. What did you mean about Mom needing us? It's complicated, he replied, starting the engine. But there are things you don't understand, things that could change everything for you and Lila. What could be worse than you abandoning us? Sarah shot back, anger rising again. She felt trapped, caught between the child she used to be and the fierce protector she had become. Trust me, just trust me, he pleaded. His voice barely above a whisper but raw with emotion. What if I don't want to? Silence filled the car. The weight of his stare was almost unbearable, as if he was assessing just how far the rift had grown between them. He finally responded, his voice steady but pained. Then you might never know the truth about why I really left. The flicker of headlights illuminated the street as he shifted the gears, accelerating into the night. But the question clung to the air between them, heavy and unsettling. What truth could possibly justify the past? And as Sarah stole a glance at Lila, her heart ached with the realization that in seeking answers, they might stumble upon more secrets than they bargained for. Was her father a savior or just another link in a chain of lies? The night stretched out before them like an ominous path, and Sarah was filled with a sense of dread. Whatever was waiting ahead would demand she embrace the darkness to find the light. What lay in wait for them in the shadows of their family's past? And would the answers bring her closer to the father she thought she lost forever, or pull them apart once more. The car raced down the winding road, the engine's growl reverberating in Sarah's chest like a reminder of her urgency. The night wrapped around them like a shroud, veiling not only the world outside but all the secrets that had defined her past. "Where are we going?" Lila's small voice broke through the heavy silence, a beacon of innocence amid the swirling confusion. "To your grandmother's house," her father replied, his eyes fixed sternly ahead. "I need to get you both to safety, but I need to explain everything first." The air was thick with unresolved tension. Sarah felt torn between wanting to know the truth and the urge to shield Lila from whatever dark tale lay ahead. "Mom's house?" Lila questioned. "Yes, the one by the lake," her father confirmed, glancing in the rearview mirror. "It's time you both hear the complete story." But Sarah wasn't ready. The abandonment, the years, the painful memories, they clawed at her heart. "And you think dragging us to Grandma will make it all better?" Sarah snapped, her voice tremulous with anger. "Do you really believe it's that simple?" "No. I know it's not simple," he replied, his voice hoarse. "But some things can only be revealed fully in the presence of family. And your grandmother, she deserves to share her side with you." Heart-pounding, Sarah stifled any infuriating questions that lingered on the tip of her tongue. But she couldn't ignore the slivers of curiosity and betrayal that seeped into her thoughts. "Please just start talking. What's really going on?" With a long exhale, her father opened up, words spilling forth like the release of a long-held breath. "Your mother didn't leave willingly. There were complications I never wanted you to know. Problems we had to deal with that I thought I could protect you from. I thought leaving was best." "Protect me? By abandoning me?" A wave of pain mixed with confusion crashed over Sarah. The desire for answers grew raw. "What could be worse than being left by you and my mother?" As he navigated the darkness with unsteady hands, her father continued. "There was trouble. Debts we incurred. Your mother couldn't handle it all. And I thought that it would hurt you to see her suffer. But the truth is," he paused, "it destroyed our family. Is this why you resurfaced? To fix what you broke?" The fraught hope in Sarah's chest tightened like a noose. Her heart ached with the idea of embracing a father who had once abandoned her, yet now claimed to desire redemption. "I have to help her again. She needs you, and I was a fool to think she could handle it alone," he confessed, his voice filled with emotion. "Make it make sense," Sarah demanded, desperate for clarity. Before he could respond, Lila broke in, her voice small yet steady. "I don't want to be a part of something scary. I just want to know if my mom's okay." "She'll be fine," her father assured Lila. His gaze softened in her direction. "But we need to hurry. She has more than just us to explain." As they charted their course closer to the lake, Sarah felt a rush of anticipation. The road stretched ahead, and with it came the reality of potential reconciliation or devastation. Suddenly, a wild thought struck her. "What if Grandma doesn't want to see you? I have to try. She needs to know the truth as much as you do." As they finally pulled up to her grandmother's shadowy yet familiar home, Sarah felt a mix of apprehension and courage stir within her. They all stepped out into the cool night air, where the scent of the lake hung thick like old memories. "Stay close, Lila," Sarah instructed as they approached the door. "Please," her father whispered, placing a hand on Sarah's arm. "Just open your heart for one moment. I promise you'll understand." She hesitated, anger simmering beneath the surface, but in her gut, she could feel the truth waiting on the other side. Swallowing a lump in her throat, she nodded and pressed the doorbell, the chime echoing through the stillness. When her grandmother opened the door, a mixture of joy and fear washed over her face. Her eyes widened at seeing her son after all these years, but the warmth melted into a wary silence as she glanced at Sarah and Lila. "Mom," he started, his voice breaking, but her grandmother raised a hand to halt his words. "I can't," she said, stepping back within the darkened threshold, retreating into a world Sarah had yet to understand. As Sarah looked toward Lila, and then her father, she realized they all shared the same flickering spark of hope and trepidation. The path ahead would not be simple, but perhaps they could all open their hearts. With breath steadying, Sarah placed her hand on the door. "It's time, Mom," she spoke softly. "We're ready to listen." The door opened wider. A fragile smile broke through their collective burden, hope anchoring them together. In that moment, amidst all the shadows of secrets, light began to seep through. Reunions woven from love and pain awaited them, but they would have to face them together. And as Sarah stepped into the home of her childhood, she instinctively knew something beautiful was about to unfold. Perhaps all they needed was to mend the pieces of a family torn apart, woven back through courage and an unbreakable bond. The journey through darkness had led them here, and now the light would guide them on. Don't miss the next chapter of this incredible journey. You need to subscribe now to witness the transformative stories ahead. Hit that like button to show your support because every thumbs up matters. Share your thoughts in the comments about this emotional ending. Your voice matters. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation.